And this is it, folks. This is the conclusion of my Tarantino Marathon. Django Unchained. Welcome back to my Quentin Tarantino Marathon, and yes, this is the final installment, because after this very video, I will have reviewed every single movie written and directed by Mr. Quentin Tarantino. Django Unchained came out 2 years ago. The film stars Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kerry Washington, and Samuel L. Jackson. The film takes place a couple years before the American Civil War and focuses on a slave called Django, played by Jamie Foxx. Django gets freed by a German bounty hunter played by the one and only Christoph Waltz, who needs him in order to track down a couple people. However, due to a set of circumstances, these two actually start bonding, and Christoph Waltz's character agrees to help him free his wife, played by Kerry Washington, who is currently the property of the sinister Calvin Candy, played by the one and only Leonardo DiCaprio. And now we have our movie. Now I can tell you, the first time I heard about this movie, I was extremely skeptical. The entire plot of a former slave becoming a badass and starting to kill a bunch of white slave owners, I was like, is this Inglourious Basterds all over again? Only a different time period and a different minority that fights back? And I can assure you, that is not the case. Django Unchained is a completely different beast than Inglourious Basterds, and it's another fantastic movie. This time around, it's a straight up Western. Stylistically speaking, because geographically, well, you know, it takes place in the South. But again, this movie blew me away, and I should really just stop doubting Tarantino, because whatever that guy does is brilliant. Unlike Inglourious Basterds, which had like this huge lineup of characters, this movie is a little more private because it only has a couple main characters, but these characters are very fleshed out. First up, Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is amazing as Django. The first time we meet this guy, he's extremely intimidated because he's a slave. He doesn't know whether or not he's allowed to talk. And it's so cool to see him transform into this overconfident badass, because essentially he's a Western hero. Kerry Washington in the movie, Kerry Washington has always been amazing and she is really good in the movie. However, I believe she is a little bit underutilized because she is essentially the damsel in distress. But since this movie has the entire let's save the princess vibe, it does make sense for this film. But now let's get right to it. There are 3 actors in this movie that all steal the show. First up, Christoph Waltz. He won another Academy Award for his portrayal of Dr. King Schultz, and he absolutely deserved it because he is even better than he was in Inglourious Basterds. That guy just knows how to deliver Tarantino dialogue. He's funny, he's smart, he's well-spoken, and he has this general vibe of intelligence just surrounding him. He is so amazing. The entire first half of the movie is the Christoph Waltz show, and this time around we get to root for him because he plays the good guy. In my opinion, the character of Dr. King Schultz is even more intriguing than the Jew hunter in Inglourious Basterds, because you can see at times he loses his cool. He's actually an emotional guy. And this is the very first time we see an actual friendship in a Tarantino movie. Yes, you could argue that Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction were friends, but they were more like colleagues who liked one another. But Django and Dr. King Schultz, they actually bond, and they have this beautiful friendship going on. And I love all the montages with them riding into the sunset. It would seem like a stupid cliche, but it's not. It perfectly fits the Western vibe of this movie. The second standout performance in this movie is Leonardo DiCaprio as Calvin Candy. He is such a piece of shit person. He is one of the most despicable people you've ever seen on any screen ever. He just embodies everything that was wrong about the South of America during that time period. The speeches he gives, the way he looks at black people and really just sees them as property is so horrible, but he just nails it. And there's this one scene where his character has this hardcore racist outburst at a dinner table and he smashes against the glass, and that actually happened for real. Because DiCaprio committed so much to his character that he actually smashed his hand against the glass, started bleeding all over the place and just kept going, and Tarantino was like, that scene alone is Academy Award gold. And yes, still no Oscar for you, Leo. I'm with you. But the biggest surprise to me in this film is Samuel L. Jackson. I've always been a fan of this guy, and I always thought that he works perfectly with Tarantino. And Tarantino has said it himself, no one delivers his dialogue like Samuel L. Jackson, but I never saw him in a role like that. He plays Calvin Candy's right hand, who's a house slave that loves to boss around other slaves, torture them, and completely just brown nose with DiCaprio. He is such a horrible person, such a despicable human being. I never thought I would see Samuel L. Jackson in a role like this. He's hilarious in the movie because he has some of the funniest lines in the entire flick. But my God, is that guy despicable. The cinematography in this movie, absolutely flawless. Seriously, I'm telling you, they went full on Western. Tarantino flirted with a Western idea in movies like Kill Bill Volume 2 or Inglourious Basterds, but this time around, it is a straight up Western. And again, Tarantino being a hardcore Western fan, his love for the genre absolutely translates on the big screen. The soundtrack in this movie, once again, fantastic. And that's very interesting because some of it is Western inspired music, like Ennio Morricone stuff. But Tarantino also managed to make use of hip-hop music like Rick Ross, Tupac, but I don't know how he does it. Again, it works. This is also the only Tarantino review where I will address the violence, because this movie, I believe, has two different sets of violence. The first type of violence is the typical Tarantino violence. It's over the top, it's graphic, but it's enjoyable because it's almost cartoony. The other violence is actually the stuff that you don't enjoy. It's all the stuff that relates to the horror of slavery. And Tarantino does that with so much respect. It is so twisted, it is so dark, but it's necessary. And that is one of the things that I loved about this movie and Inglourious Basterds. Back then, people were worried that the movie might poke fun at the Holocaust. And in Django Unchained, people were worried that it would poke fun at slavery. No, these movies make fun of slave owners or Nazis, but they never poke fun at these crimes against humanity. You really gotta hand it to Tarantino to give you a touching movie, because at times it is really touching, but overall being able to entertain you, that is brilliant filmmaking, that is brilliant script writing. Another guest star that I would love to mention is Don Johnson. And it's like an extended cameo, but it's one of the greatest extended cameos I've ever seen in any movie because he nails the accent. He has comedic timing while also being a complete dickbag. A lot of people have also complained because of the excessive use of the N-word in this movie. But I believe Tarantino gave the best explanation. This movie takes place during the darkest times in American history. And to not make use of this word in such an excessive manner would be sugarcoating the tragedy and the horror of slavery. So to sum it all up, Django Unchained has a terrific plot, great performances, especially when it comes to its supporting actors. Leonardo DiCaprio was fantastic, Christoph Waltz was fantastic, and Samuel L. Jackson was fantastic. The cinematography in this movie, flawless. Signature, terrific Tarantino dialogue. The soundtrack in this movie is actually better than the soundtrack in Inglourious Basterds. And I can't illustrate the Western vibe of this movie because, like I said, first time Tarantino really tapped into that genre and he delivered on every level. Which is why Django Unchained gets the gold medal. If you're a hardcore Tarantino fan, this will be your holy grail. Seriously. And thus concludes my Tarantino Marathon. I have reviewed every single Tarantino movie on this channel leading up to The Hateful Eight. All the reviews are currently up on my channel. You can check them out. Tell me what you think of them. So Django Unchained, what are your thoughts? And what is your favorite Tarantino movie? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. And if you like what you see here and you want to see more, then just subscribe.